Today's devotional is entitled, Where is the Line? As a child, we learn our boundaries from our parents based upon finding that line that we don't want to cross. That the parents lay it out for us, and we try to find where that line is. And the minute we cross it, we're in trouble. But if we toe that line, then we're good. The line in the sand, so to speak. And if we cross it, we do get in very big trouble. And as children, we are rather adventurous. And we don't want to break the rules that our parents set up for us, but at times try to find out just as far as we can possibly go before they get mad. You see, boundaries do matter, and without them, chaos will ensue. Boundaries, rules, and following what we are told to do keeps things in order. And no matter the situation, rules do matter. But what if they go against what you believe? That in a setting that you were taught differently, that you were raised with the values that these rules went against, what would you do? Would you cave in and give in to whatever these rules were, even if it compromised who you were at your core? You see, this world is constantly wanting us to conform to it, to reshape us from the Christians we are, and to become not children of God, but become children of this world. And we see in Daniel chapter 1, we get the opening story of Daniel and an opportunity to become so much greater if he only accepts the things that were presented to him. But it's the cost of not following God. You see, the king of Babylon didn't worship God, begins his reign over Jerusalem, and he takes some of the people from Israel to reshape them, so then when they go back to their families, it changes them from the people of Israel to the people of Babylon. That he's able to assimilate these people by taking these children, these choice people, brainwashing them, so to speak, so that when they go back to their families, they're able to bring their families to the same thought process. And we see in Daniel chapter 1, verses 3 through 5, Then the king commanded Ashpenaz, his chief eunuch, to bring some of the people of Israel, both of the royal family and of that of the nobility, youths without blemish, of good appearance and skillful in all wisdom, endowed with knowledge, understanding, learning, and competent to stand in the king's palace, and to teach them the literature and language of the Chaldeans. The king assigned them a daily portion of the food that the king ate, and the wine that he drank. There they would be educated for 3 years, and at the end of the time, there they would go stand before the king. So what you have here is that the king is taking the best and brightest into his home, giving them some of his food and some of his drink, the food that the king ate, and to treat them basically like they were royalty. And this is how the king was going to take over the Israelites, by assimilating these youths into his thought processes so that they were able to go back into their homes and bring them to become like the people of Babylon. But we see Daniel says no. And we see in Daniel chapter 1, verses 8, the first half of it, he says, But Daniel resolved that he would not defile himself with the king's food or with the wine that he drank. Daniel made a decision. I don't care what this guy is offering me. I'm not going to do it. Against all the odds that were stacked up in front of him, Daniel would not budge. He didn't try to find the line that God said, you know what? You can do some of this. You can eat the food. You can drink the wine. Just don't do it all. God never said that. And Daniel didn't do any of it. And we see in Exodus chapter 23, verse 2, it says, You shall not fall in with the many to do evil, nor shall you bear witness in a lawsuit siding with the many so as to pervert justice. See, at this point, Daniel was being offered the same thing that everybody else was. That would go against the very nature that God set up for them. And Daniel decided that he would not follow the many, and this might even mean death. But he realized that following God is bigger than eating the choice foods and wine that the king and getting an education that might change who he is at his core. That Daniel decided God's way is better than whatever riches this man can offer me. Now I can imagine that many of us, if we're in that situation or a similar situation, we would probably eventually cave. that we wouldn't want to be cast out as outcasts or to be viewed as someone who doesn't follow the rules. But see, Daniel here says we don't have to do it, just like Daniel didn't. That the world tells us time and time again that it's okay to follow the crowd, to be inclusive, to allow the things in this world that go against what we as Christians view as wrong. That we are to follow blindly and allow these things to happen, and if we don't, suddenly we're the bad people. But see, Paul tells us in Romans chapter 12, verse 2, do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind, that by testing you may discern what is the will of God, what is good and acceptable and perfect. You see, we're all going to encounter moments where following the crowd is going to be so much easier than taking a stand. From doing what we're told to do because of the shame and grief that the people are going to give us is going to be so strong that we're going to want to just cave in. Now, see, it would have been so easy for Daniel to say, I want to do this on the outside. I should do what this king tells me to do, but, drink the wine, eat the food. But on the inside, I'm still going to serve God. This does not work, guys. You see, in Matthew chapter 6, verse 24, Jesus says it this way, no one can serve two masters, for either he will hate the one and love the other, or he will be devoted to one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and money. We are not designed to serve more than one master. And when the opportunity presents itself, we're not going to do it the way that we're supposed to, because we're either going to love one and hate the other, or we're going to despise one and love the other. And when we try to toe the line to appease the people around us, but secretly have our hearts and minds on God, we're not doing what we're supposed to be doing. We all have encountered moments in our lives that will define who we are and what our character is. Are we going to be like Daniel and decide that no matter the situation, God will be praised and worshiped even to the point of death? Or are we going to try to be people that conform to this world to please man and not God? See, that is the question that we all need to ask ourselves. Are we willing to throw away what God is offering us just to please man in that moment so we don't lose face? Or are we going to stand up to those people and praise the Lord, knowing full well that it could mean death? But see, in Ephesians chapter 4, verse 24, it says, and to put on the new self created after the likeness of God in true righteousness and holiness. That when we decide to follow God, that when we know where that line is, that we're still able to follow the Lord, that we're going to be putting our new self on. It's just going to be after the likeness of God, not the likeness of man. But guys, we should not even put ourselves in a situation to even toe the line, to not conform to what is presented to us, but be like Daniel and stand firm in our faith and trust in God, knowing that our faith and trust and hope is in a place that's not here. To not care what that person's saying about us because we do not conform to what everybody else is doing, but being transformed by the renewal of our minds. That is our devotional for today. Where is the line?